what's up? Hello, Katie Colson here. Welcome back to my channel. And today we're here to do something a little bit different. Now, if you saw my last video where I wrapped up all of the manga that I read in the month of July, we are here to similarly do that, but with our fiction books. Now, the reason I split them into two different categories is because one, I read a lot of manga. A lot. We are in our era, okay? And if it seems to be that it's like half and half, I might end up melding them together, but I do know that they have two very different audiences a lot of times. So if you want to see my input on manga, you can watch that video. If you don't care for manga, you can skip it and watch this one instead. So in this here, we're going to be wrapping up all of the fiction books that I read in the month of July. As of right now, I think I have about like 9 or 10, which was really good considering I slumped out so hard at the end of June that I did not think I was going to read a single book. So praise God, let's jump right in. Yerba Buena by Lacour. Okay, I feel really bad about this. Not for my rating, because I gave it a really good rating. But when I tell you that I don't really I remember this book. I do. But I also don't. And it's hard to talk about. That's why it's like, I don't remember the parts in which I should be able to say in the summary. But I gave it 4 stars and I loved it. And this, you're going to go into this thinking because of Lacour. One, this is her first adult novel and it was adult. And I see the remnants of her YA writing, but it was really good. But the thing that got me is how dark it is. It is so dark. Like this cover, no, bitch, do not let it fool you. It's really only this cover because one of them is a florist. One of the girls is a florist and the other one is a bartender. So I get it, super cute. But this is all happy-go-lucky. Absolutely not. They have trauma. They have baggage. They have damage. It's 2 girls. And yes, it is a love story toward the end, but it's really more of a character study and like dealing with grief and how to move on from grief and like how to move past your past and let that lie in order to have a future. And the things that these girls have gone through, it was really good. Now, I really enjoyed it because I read it as a character study and not as a romance. So that's what I would suggest you going into it with. But I feel like I need to read this again because I don't know. I literally, there's one girl, one of the girls, I remember everything that happened to her. And the other girl, I don't remember her so much, which is unfortunate. But I did give it 4 stars. And then Mark Z. Danielewski came for my throat. He came for my heart. He came for my gut. He came for my balls. He came for my brain. He took my life. I read House of Leaves. Did I read House of Leaves or did House of Leaves read me? Because when people say this book is bigger on the inside, no fucking joke, son. This took me so long to read. And then after that, I couldn't read anything. I could not read anything. That's why I read all those manga. Literally all the manga that I read was because of Mr. Mark here. Mr. Mark coming for my whole ass life. Okay, listen, I have a video that's coming out about it. We read this for my Smut Salon book club. This is such a good book club pick because boy, howdy do I have a lot of things to say. This sparks conversation. I'm gonna have like an 1.5 hour long video that's about to come out about this. So I'm gonna let that speak for this, but I will show you that boy, oh boy, did it get tabbed. And when I tell you this like ruined reading for me for like 2 whole weeks, I'm dead ass serious. And then cementing herself as a new favorite author, we have Kingfisher with Nettle and Bone. Now I read The Hollow Places like a month ago, gave it 5 stars and loved it. And then I read Nettle and Bone and gave it 5 stars and loved it. Loved it. Now I want to show you. Are you kidding me? Literally, we love this so much that Aaron and Steph and I have a group chat on Instagram where we buddy read and we're called the Bone Dogs because of the Bone Dog. The Bone Dog in this book. It's so cute. So this is like a feminist not retelling, but it's a feminist fairy tale and it's a little bit more on the grim side. So basically we're following this girl who, she's like the 3rd daughter, I believe, or she's the youngest in any case. And all of her sisters above her have been married off to this one prince and they keep dying. And he's like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, what? They're just like weak. And then she knows that if the sister above her dies, then she will have to go and become the princess. And that he's basically like raping and using these women just for them to like birth babies, but then like die in childbirth or become like useless for him. And then he just like throws them to the wolves. And she's like, absolutely not. She's had enough. She has had enough. And she's like, absolutely not. I'm going to go kill this prince. That is my godly duty. I'm gonna go kill this prince. And along the way, she meets up with all these like totally random people. Like she meets up with this like warrior, like this retired warrior basically, who's like a big softie. Oh my God. And then also this witch, like, oh my God, the witch. She's so grumpy and angry. And then she meets another witch and she has a bone dog that's her pet that she made out of bones. And it's so good and it's so cute. And I honestly, like, there's two different love stories in this that I was vibing. I was a vibing bitch. I fucking loved it. Like Kingfisher just has a way. She just has a way. And that way is for me. And then we have a very weird, like random little book. It's almost like a pamphlet. And this was sent to me by Bailey. And it's You Are Asexual by A.C. Evermore. So it's like by Ace. And it says, you didn't choose your identity, but you can choose what happens here. 29 different endings. And this is really cool. I tabbed the ones that I like the most, but basically you go through and you're at this orientation and it's something where basically they have kind of programmed this technology where your sexual identity is held back until you reach a certain age, and then everyone at that age at the same time gets blasted with this beam, and all of a sudden you have a sexual awakening. So you're bi, you're a lesbian, you're gay, like you're straight, this, that, and then everybody just starts having sex with each other. And it's supposed to be that you go to this meeting and the blast goes off and you feel nothing. But you don't know what asexuality is, you don't understand that. So you have to go through and like, it's like a choose your own adventure. Like some of the pages they'll say, if you select physical security, turn to page 40. If you select facility research notes, turn to page 50. And then it'll take you to a different thing. And it's like, if you go to the sex shop, turn to page 95. If you investigate the cake, turn to page 81. And then it'll lead you to like different endings. And if you end up happy, if you end up unhappy, if you end up accepting yourself and all these different things, it was a lot of fun. I had a fun time. I needed something that just was gonna get me kind of into the mood of like holding a book and reading it. And this did the trick. The rest of these are mainly just my Summerween reads because Summerween really launched me back into like actually giving a damn about fiction. And the first thing I read is Battle Royale by Kashun Takami. And this, like, you can see the tabs. Basically what I did was I put a red tab every time somebody got murked. That's a lot of tabs. It's a lot of tabs. And not every tab means just one person dies. No, we're talking multiple. We're talking multiples, okay? So this, I want to see this movie so bad. You don't even understand. This cover is stunning. By the way, stunning. So if you somehow don't know what Battle Royale is about, it's a classic horror, okay? This is a Japanese horror, and it's supposed to be that there are, every 2 years, I believe it's every 2 years, a class of 16-year-olds. They're 16, right? Yeah, so junior high school students are picked like at random to go and be in this battle royale. So what it is they go and they like drop them off on this island and they say, you have to kill each other. So these kids don't know what's happening. They go get on the bus. They think they're going for a school trip. All of a sudden gas gets pumped into the school bus. They fall asleep, wake up on an island with a collar around their throat. And it's like, if you don't follow along, if you don't kill anybody, if you like this, that, and the third, then the collar is going to explode. So they have to kill each other. And it's like the one who's the last person left standing is going to be like the victor. It's like the Hunger Games, but more brutal and with way more people. And they don't get to volunteer. They just get chosen and they all know each other. That's the thing. They're all in the same class. Like they grew up together. So it's sad. Now I'm going to stop you real quick though. Okay. So this book, I really enjoyed reading this. Now I will say, the audiobook is not the remastered version. The audiobook is just the translated version, and it is very choppy. Not only is the writing of the translation very choppy, it doesn't flow very well, but also the audio is very choppy. Like the narrator comes in and voices over parts of the audio. Like that's how choppy it is. So I wish that the remastered version would have its own audio because I listened to it and like I listened to it for probably like 65% of the time and then physically read it the other times. And when I physically read it, I liked it way more. So I ended up giving this 3.5 stars, even though I think that like if I could either read Japanese or I had listened to the remastered version, I think I would have given it a 4. But Jesus, not me choking. Oh my God. Kashun is like, how dare you? This is something that I think the movie is going to be way better because there's just so much that happens. Like there's so much action that you almost feel like things happen way too fast. And you're like, but then you're also spending time on this like love story. But then at the same time, it's like 5 characters will die in 2 pages. And you're like, what? I don't even And also the characters' names are so hard to remember because obviously it's not the culture that I grew up in or that I'm accustomed to. So a lot of the characters' names will kind of sound like each other and it's really hard to follow along. So like while I see this book has a lot of merits and I really enjoyed it, it wasn't the 5-star that I was predicting for it to be. And in my saddest moment on the internet, I DNF'd this book. I was on page 65 of 93 and I DNF'd it. That's how much of a flop it was for me. So this is We Can Never Leave This Place by Eric Larocca. His writing is stunning. His writing is stunning. I read 2 of his other books, absolutely loved them, even when they didn't make sense. But this book, it's like it made enough sense that the parts that didn't make sense felt unnecessary and like purposefully ridiculous. Like, I didn't like it. I didn't like the descriptions. It was like they're living in this like apocalyptic like war zone and they have to stay inside, but then the girl's dad like leaves and he dies and they bring his body back and his body's just like laying on the ground and then a giant spider comes to be her new dad. But her mom is also like a huge bitch. Listen, I did not like this. I did not like this at all. I love Eric LaRocca, but this, in my opinion, sucked. And then I listened to the audiobook for The Island by Adrian Mccanty because I know that it is getting a adaptation at some point in 2022, I believe, or maybe 2023. And I'd never read an Adrian Mccanty before, which is funny because I followed this up immediately with another Adrian Mccanty. But in this one, we are following a girl named Heather, and she is the new stepmom to 2 young kids while she's only 25 herself. And she's married this like well-to-do surgeon, or he's a doctor of some kind. And they're gonna go on a family vacation. So they go to this island where the only people on this island is a family. Like one family runs this island. That's already spooky, okay? But they accidentally commit a crime on this island. And they are too afraid to tell anybody of this family because they're like, they have their own justice and they're gonna like do something terrible to us. We need to get off this island and then we can call back and say what we did. But of course, before they can get off the island, the family finds out and is like chasing them down. It is way more brutal than the cover looks like it's gonna be. Way more brutal. Like this literally felt like a softer version of Karen Slaughter. Like it was brutal, okay? And it was action scene, action scene, action scene. And I really fucking loved it. I loved it. I thought it was really good. I think I'm gonna give it like 3.75, 4 stars. Like, it was a fun ass time and I'm absolutely watching this adaptation. Speaking of adaptations, how in the world does this not have an adaptation? This would make a perfect movie. A perfect movie. The Chain by Adrian Mccanty. Now, this concept, chef's kiss, amazing. So basically, imagine this. You get called and it's some random person on the phone saying, you're part of the chain now, I have your kid, and if you do not wire $25,000 to his Bitcoin account and then kidnap somebody else's kid for ransom, your kid's gonna die. And it goes on and on, the chain goes on and on. So then you have to go kidnap somebody's kid and call their parents and say, transfer $25,000 to this Bitcoin account and kidnap somebody else's kid or your kid's gonna die. When they kidnap the kid, you release their kid. And it goes on and on and on and on and on. And it's this like unknown entity or organization or whatever that are controlling this chain. Now, okay, here's what I'll say. This much of the book is about that. This is about a mom being a vigilante trying to go against the chain. I want to give this 3.5 stars, but I felt like the second half, while I was still intrigued and listening to it, was not necessarily the story I signed up for, and I didn't really need it, but I still really liked it. Like, actually, I'm gonna give it 3.5 stars. This is a really good time, but it kind of lost its way in like being a vigilante in the end, but I still really enjoyed it. Like, if you want a fun time, read this book. I guess I read The Haunting of Hill House by Shirley Jackson, but did I? Because what the fuck is going on in this book? Like, what is going on? Now, I'm gonna say something real quick, okay? I'm gonna say something just in case if nobody knows, if somebody out there doesn't know this. The TV show, The Haunting of Hill House, is nothing like this. They literally just took a couple keywords from this book and used it to make a TV show. They used the characters' names and they used that it was a haunted house. And that's literally it. There's not a single other thing about this book that's like the TV show. In the TV show, they're a family. In this, they're strangers. The mom doesn't exist in this, where in the TV show, she's like the backbone of the story. What? Literally in this, it's a haunted house and this dude invites all these people to like go and see if it's haunted. And they go and just meet up. And it's like, kind of like Nell is going crazy. And they see that she's going crazy. And they're like, actually, we should leave. And that's it. The writing is beautiful, but the book is 2 stars. And then I read Blood Sugar by Sasha Rothschild. And this is something that she calls diabetes noir, which to me is like, that's amazing. That is amazing. I've never heard that before. I have never in my life read a book that had 1, diabetes representation, period, but 2, good diabetes representation, like actual to God good representation. Now, here's what I'll say. The story is good, but it's not great. And the writing in the beginning, oh no, my God. The first couple chapters, the writing is terrible. It's literally like a live journal Tumblr post of like a girl being like, the shattered glass shone so brightly in the sun. I'm like, can you just, Sasha, calm down, girl. Calm down. You're good. You don't need to act like that. But then it stopped doing that and mellowed out and it didn't happen again. I don't know why the editor wasn't like, this writing style in the beginning. What? No. Anyway, we're basically following a character study of a woman who has committed 3 murders in her life, but she is being interrogated for a 4th murder that she did not commit, and it's for her husband. Now, her husband has type 1 diabetes. So we are following through her remembering how these other deaths came about and whether or not like she thinks of herself as a sociopath, whether she thinks of herself as innocent and all these different things. And then how she, 1, became best friends with this guy named Roman, and their friendship was a huge seller for me. Like that brought the book up a lot. I loved their platonic relationship. And then also her relationship with her husband, the diabetic named Jason. And I really liked that, though the story's not about their relationship. The relationship is more about Roman and Ruby, and then this murder that she's being accused of. But the diabetic representation, like when I tell you it's good, like let me just see a couple things. This says, it's a constant balancing act. Every flight of stairs, every common cold, every extra bite of mashed potatoes has to be accounted for to keep a type 1's blood sugar at a healthy level. Little did I realize on my first date with Jason that his chronic disease was far more complicated, time-consuming, and frightening than him being a recovering alcoholic ever would have been. You have no idea how much it means to me to see that written in a book. Like you literally do not understand. And all those tabs are for diabetic representation. And this is going to be one of those books that I'm giving 3 stars, but I'm keeping it on my shelf because it means that much to me. And as per usual, because I'm filming this a couple days before this video is going to go out, if I do, and I'm sure I will, end up finishing any more books in the month of July, I'm going to insert a clip talking about them right here. Hi, we're here to end this on a depressing note. I finished 2 more books before now, the very end of July. And, you know, they were anticipated. They were very anticipated, and they did not go according to plan, I'll tell you that. So the first one is The Pallbearers Club by Paul Tremblay. When I tell you I went to Barnes & Noble and paid for this full price on release day, bought it, was so obsessed, pretty short. And also I had just finished House of Leaves, and it has like a little bit of a House of Leaves vibes because basically this is supposed to be like kind of a memoir or nonfiction, though it is debatable in the book for reasons, you know, you have to read it and figure out. But this is supposed to be a book that's or a memoir that's written by Art Barbara, but then a character in his memoir named Mercy finds it later and then is reading it and is annotating it, being like, that's not what happened, or like, what are you talking about? I was there and blah, 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 blah. So it has that vibe to it. Okay. The thing about this book that I feel like the summary doesn't say, nobody says about this, is that this is a book about vampires, but is it? Is it? It's basically this guy, or this high school boy, who is very weird. He's very fucking weird, okay? And he decides to form a club at school called the Pallbearers Club. And what he does is he goes to like homeless people or people that don't have anybody to be with them at their funeral, and he wants kids at his school to be their pallbearers, like, because somebody has to do it, you know? okay. And you know what? You could look at that and be like, oh my God, this guy's doing like a service. No, Art Barbara's just, he's a fucking weirdo. He's weird. Okay. And at this club, he meets this girl named Mercy. And they have a friendship. And in my opinion, the book is about their friendship. It's about their friendship. But really, it's Art Barbara just like losing his fucking mind. Like, he's fucking crazy. He's crazy. And it's basically him writing this whole memoir trying to get us to believe that Mercy is a vampire. Is she a vampire? Debatable. Listen, debatable. There's a lot of things you could say about if she is or if she isn't, blah, 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 blah. I have opinions. I have thoughts. I have the way I believe this book went. But I gave this 2 stars. I think this is one of those things where it's just not for me. This is a very like long, I mean, it's not long, but it's long for what it's saying. It's a book that's like going on and on and on about this character just trying to make something real. Kayla, love you the most. I understand why you loved it. I get why you loved it, but for me, no. It was 2 stars. Couldn't do it. It was 2 stars. Anyway, so sorry, Paul Tremblay. Love you the most. Love you, but no. You failed with me on that one. And let's move into, unfortunately, another pass, and that's Upgrade by Blake Crouch. This was is it my most? No, it was one of my most anticipated books of the year. I love Blake Crouch. I have read Dark Matter and Recursion and absolutely love both of them. I gave one of them 4 stars and the other one 5 stars. And listen, this one is hard for me to talk about because I don't even understand what was disappointing about this book. Like, I don't even know what to pinpoint that was so disappointing for me, but I gave this 2 stars. It was okay. It was okay. And I've heard so many other people that I really like, admire, and respect giving this 5 stars and saying it's like the best book that they've read by him. I don't get it. And I think it was mainly because so basically this is about, there has been technology that has happened where you can sequence your genetics and you can change your genetics to any which way you want, but it's illegal to do so. So that was what was really confusing for me. So if it's illegal to change your genetics, then why does it exist in the first place? Like, why does this thing exist that people can do, but they can't do it? Anyway, our main character, basically at the very beginning of the novel, something like falls from the ceiling and it's almost like it's almost like anthrax or like a dart that shot into him that changes his genome, his genetics. And you have to figure out why. Like, there's a whole reason why somebody would want to do that or whatever. And they change his genetics to basically be like a superhuman. And he's kind of being sought out, like, you know, that's illegal. You can't do that. Like, that's against like what the government and military has said is okay. And he is becoming more than human. He's becoming, like, his brain is growing and growing and growing, and he can read faster, he learns faster, he remembers everything he's ever seen and done. Okay. And then there's like a backstory of like why that's happening to him, why he was chosen. I just didn't really care. I just didn't really, listen, I'm not gonna lie to you. I just didn't care. I didn't vibe with this book. I didn't like it. I didn't like it. I gave it 2 stars. And it's hard because I want to be able to give you a solid reason why, and I don't know. I just didn't care. And I wanted to care. I wanted to care so much. It's not a bad book. That's the thing. I should probably give it 3 stars, but because it's Blake Crouch and it was so anticipated, I'm giving it 2 stars. It's not bad. Like, if I had never read a book by him, it would have been a 3 or 3.5. But because I love Blake Crouch, I was disappointed by this book. I was disappointed, and maybe I need to reread it in the future because people that I know have loved him in the past have loved this book. So like, maybe I'm sure I'm wrong, but I gave it 2 stars. Anyway, let's call it a day for July, okay? Okay, thank you all so much for watching this. If you read any of these books and you have any opinions on them, please let me know what you rated them. Let me know what your best book of the month was or your worst book or both. Shit, I love to know. If you've gotten this far into the video, leave the blood drop emoji. That's what I use in my phone for any of my diabetic contacts that I have. They all have the blood drop emoji. So leave that if you've gotten this far into the video. If you want to follow me on Patreon, the link is always down below, as well as my Goodreads and my Instagram. You know what's also down below? The subscribe button. I mean, like, you can do whatever you want, but like, I would subscribe if I was you. That's all I'm saying. Anyway, I hope that you are having an amazing day, evening, night, dusk, dawn, whatever it is you're having, in whatever part of the world you are currently having it in. And I will see you in a video coming very soon. Bye.